Guys, do I look like I'm about to clock into my shift at the hospital? Like, do I look like a nurse? Do I look like, I feel like this is giving like travel nurse because it's like, is it bohemian? I look like a free spirit, like a free spirit scrubs, my free spirit scrubs. But like, one of the people who came for me on here, like, I noticed this trend of like nurse to stripper to pink pill pipeline. You know what I mean? And I used to, when I was like a kid, like for years, like from when I was like really little all the way till like after I graduated college, I had to see a specialist. And every time I saw the specialist, like I saw the specialist like once every 3 to 6 months. And every time I saw the specialist, I had to get my blood drawn before I saw the specialist. So, and you know, like you go to the labs, it's always like nurses there. And so, you know, I was considering at one point, I was like, oh, maybe I should like go into nursing. And then I remembered, like, because I never had any personal beef with these nurses at the labs and stuff, because I've had so much experience like with like dealing with nurses and stuff, just because of, you know, whatever, like my medical stuff or whatever. Interestingly, I didn't get diagnosed for ADHD until like well after all of that. But yeah, like I noticed like they all had an attitude. As I said, I never personally had beef with these nurses. I was just very much like in and out of there. But like I noticed like they all had attitudes. Like, and I, like, you know, as I said, my sister was a narcissist. I did not get along with my sister. At one point, I suggested that she become a nurse because she was like trying to figure out what she wanted to do. And I didn't even realize it was because they all had like very strong mean girl energy. But that was what I was like, oh, you have the personality for a nurse. And I didn't even consciously realize that that's what it was, because like they all had that like chip on their shoulder mean girl energy, and like that's the same type of energy my sister. And I didn't like I wasn't even saying it in like a shady way to be like mean to her or like throw shade, you know, like throw shade at her, throw a jab at her. But that was genuinely, I just like didn't even realize that's where it was coming from, because like all of the nurses from my experience, and I've changed locations, I've like, you know what I mean, because I've moved and stuff, like I've changed locations and stuff, like every single lab, like these nurses were always had like strong mean girl energy, like the same type of mean girl energy that I experienced in retail. And that was like, so that's why I didn't go into it. I was like, you know, I bet I'd be experiencing the same type of problem with these women that I do in retail if I became a nurse. And it also doesn't surprise me that like girls who like, if there's like a stripper to nurse pipeline. I mean, yeah, stripper to nurse pipeline to pink pill night pipeline, because apparently they're all like messing with the doctors and stuff like that, and they do be wearing those tight scrubs, you know, and like they're just like total like and then I heard it was confirmed that yes, indeed, nursing is a mean girl profession, and my grandma was a nurse and she was a total mean girl. You know, like they don't like they're like, you know, nasty other women, but they're sucking up to the men, that type of thing, which totally like, so I can see them all. Like I could never date like a doctor for that reason. But yeah, like, but yeah, it doesn't surprise me. And then they're pink pill, because obviously like these are like toxic women, you know, so you can imagine the types of relationships they have. And then they just like turn into man haters and think they're experts on men. Anyways, and I'm not even saying that like, you know, schmex workers like don't have like experience with men. It just didn't surprise me that one of the people who came for me, like one of the people was like stripper to nurse to pink pill pipeline. Like it didn't surprise me that she was a nurse, you know. And it was later confirmed that like my suspicions were true, that nursing is a mean girl profession. So if you're a mean girl, actually, I don't think that should be like a thing. I think like we need to change that, because you're like literally in charge of people's health and stuff. Like you're like in ways like they take care of, they're more in charge of like the patients than even the doctors are, you know. So that's not right. Like it's actually kind of like messed up when you think about it. Like they should start, like I don't know what they should do, but like maybe they should just stay strippers and escorts. I don't know, these mean girls. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say. My travel nurse uniform. It's probably the only type of nurse I could even be, because like I can't deal with like the politics and stuff, you know, with those like like with retail and stuff, I always picked like professions where I'm like not in the mix with everyone, because they were always trying to get me on the floor and be like on the sales and like deal with all the politics. I was like, oh no, I always picked like a position that was like detached from everything else, from like all of like the commotion and all of like the politics and all the sharkiness that was going on. So I would be like, I think like the healthiest way to be a nurse is to be a travel nurse. So it's like even if you like, you just like jump from hospital to hospital, so you don't get too deeply involved with anyone, because it just seems like a very toxic profession. But yeah, this is my travel nurse uniform. Because I started wearing old lady clothes because I stopped wearing men's clothes, so I started wearing old lady clothes, and like sometimes they look like scrubs.